At a time when Arnold Schwarzenegger sat alone on bodybuilding's throne after conquering his only true rival, emerged a 6'5", 265 pounds, 22-year-old who threatened his dynasty. A skinny Brooklyn kid who couldn't hear the insults but felt every one. Born with major hearing loss, bullied at school, pushed by a disappointed father who measured love in results.
You're a baby, Lou.
You'll never get this chance again.
Lou Ferrigno defied all the odds. With nothing but determination and homemade gym equipment, he took the bodybuilding world by storm. Although he never won a pro contest in his career, he was one of the very few men close enough to take Arnold's crown.
I'm not satisfied. I'll come on, wait. Let's go. I'll beat him.
Their rivalry lit the fuse on bodybuilding's breakout moment, and when the cameras came, the world finally met the soft-spoken colossus, and Hollywood took notice. From a bullied kid to a bodybuilding superstar to the most famous superhero on television and a Hollywood icon, this is the incredible rise of Lou Ferrigno.
I was born in Brooklyn, New York, 1951. I was a skinny child. I'm very introverted. I had ear infection and had nerve damage. I lost 85% of my hearing.
I couldn't speak. I could not hear.
It made me different than everyone else. I made me very introverted as a child. I have kind of, like would you say, a love-and-hate relationship with my father growing up because he had a hard time accepting me having a handicap because I wasn't perfect, the perfect son. He kind of pushed me and taught me never to feel sorry for myself.
One time I got a beating. I went home, I cried to him. He gave me another beating. He said, don't ever come home again if you can't fight for yourself. I wanted to have a good relationship with my father, but he was a very disturbed, very angry man. Yeah, he was a tough New York cop. And what's funny is that growing up, so he felt like I had to carry his pain. While growing up because of the hearing situation, he said, if you had your hearing, you could be this, you could be this, be that.
I have a friend who policeman. They raved about their son. My son is in school. My son is doing this. He's getting this on the test. And then he would come home and say, look at my son, this and this.
He never ever told you, son, I'm so proud of you.
Never. I had to deal with the rejection. So to deal with the pain, I was very upset. What attracted me was power. I read comic books like the Superman, the Hulk, to escape from my imagination, like an antidote for my pain. So I would rush home from school to turn the TV on to watch the Superman series.
The Adventures of Superman. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird.
It's a plane.
It's Superman.
Because to me, when you're young, you think Superman's real. But what I love about the show, I love about the courage, the determination, and his power.
Golly, Superman, am I glad to see you.
And especially that the people respect him more like a leadership, like a hero.
Surely owe our lives to Superman. All of us.
We certainly do, don't we, Clark?
I want to emulate, be like him. One time I was in the kitchen when I was a little kid. There was a newspaper open. I see this picture of Hercules C. Reeve. There was a 2-page spread in the New York Daily News. And I kept looking at this picture. So my father took me to the movie to see the original Hercules.
I want to become like you, Hercules. And I'm sure you'll succeed if you have a strong will.
So when I saw that movie, I said to myself, this is what I want to be. And a friend of mine, they had weights and everything. I wanted to work out because I just knew something to strengthen my body because I was bullied as a kid. People called me Deaf Mute, Deaf Louie. I didn't want to feel sorry for myself because basically, to me, I wanted to find something that I could do something because I realized at a young age, power was the obsession for me. It was my passion.
Well, I was very skinny. I couldn't gain weight. I had to do push-ups and chin-ups. A friend of mine had weights. I'll never forget the first time I lift weights. I was kind of like struggling, trying to push the bar. It felt so awkward. I just like the feeling that picking up something that the connection with the body, I just knew that I would be very powerful. Because I had nothing else to, it was my only way to survive. Equipment, I made my own equipment in the basement. I got 2 milk boxes, I got 2 pieces of wood, and I got the hinges, the door hinges. And I made the bench go up and down like far as like the wood part. I try to imitate all the exercises you see in the magazine. I wasn't doing very well in school. They threatened to put me back 1 grade. So my father said to me, he says, okay, I'll make a deal with you. If you come home, you pass your grades, you keep the weights. If you don't, I'm going to throw everything out.
Now, that to me, taking that away from me was like taking everything from me. I found a way to make it through school. I knew it was hard to be in the classroom because I didn't want everybody to know that I had this hearing problem, this speech problem. I wanted to be perfect like everyone else. I cheated. I did everything I could to pass so I can keep on training. I was just obsessed with it. Reading these Muscle magazines all these years and working out at the gym, I realized about the age of like 18, 19, I had this passion, this desire to compete. A lot of friends of mine laughed at me because at the time I had skinny legs, I had nice arms and a small chest.
My friends laughed at me when I told them I was going to be Mr. Universe someday. But not my grandfather Louis. He believed in me, and I was even named after him, he later revealed.
But I just loved it so much that I had an ambition to compete in the 1971 Open Mr. New Jersey Hercules competition in New Jersey. And I remember when I first competed in my first contest, I came 23rd place. I stepped on stage, flat bulbs were going off, people clapping, and I said to myself, this is great instant gratification. I really like it.
And I came home and I promised, I told my father, I'll never come less than 23rd place again.
True to his words, Lou never placed that low again. Shortly after graduating from Brooklyn Technical High School in 1969, he threw himself into bodybuilding. His first major win came in 1971 when he won the WBBG Teenage Eastern Mr. America. He followed it with a 4th place at the AAU Teen Mr. America and took 5th in the most muscular division.
And guess who was in the competition with me? Mike Mensa and Ray Mensa. And Mike, as a matter of fact, took several body parts awards, and he came 2nd place. And Mike looked at me, he said, another Arnold Schwarzenegger on the rise. I said, thanks, Mike. It gave me this motivation to want to compete and continue my career.
Fueled by this newfound motivation, and perhaps in an effort to earn his father's approval and overcome childhood dawns, Lou trained harder than before and began climbing through the amateur ranks. In 1972, he competed as an adult and took 2nd at the WBBG Mr. America. Deciding to try his luck outside the U.S., he traveled to London and competed in the prestigious NABBA Mr. Universe.
And Lou Ferrigno himself was in the tall class, and he was 2nd to Paul Grant.
Yes, well, Lou was still coming up. He didn't quite have the polish on his physique that these other guys were able to finish in front of Lou, but Lou was certainly a great champion. And in 1973, he looked a heck of a lot better than he looked in 72.
Then I realized I had to focus more on my legs, other body parts to have a balanced physique.
My legs were not quite as good as my upper body, so I had to work twice as hard compared to other people. That's why I wanted to be the first bodybuilder over 6 feet to have perfect symmetry.
By the end of 1972, Lou had established himself as a rising force. He tested himself internationally and was developing the blend of size and presence that would soon earn him his bodybuilding breakthrough. Through the late 60s and 70s, bodybuilding had splintered across federations: AAU, IFBB, WBBG, and NABBA. Legendary East Coast promoter Dan Lurie's WBBG ran its own Mr. America, but the IFBB controlled Mr. Olympia, the era's top prize, and the stage where Arnold reigned. Lou's placings in the WBBG and NABBA had put him on the IFBB's radar, and his desire to be an IFBB champion and chase Mr. Olympia sealed his decision to leave Lurie's orbit. After an early edition in 1949, the IFBB Mr. America became a recurring title from 1959 through the late 1970s and sat inside the Weider IFBB pathway toward world titles and, ultimately, Mr. Olympia. Staged at the Brooklyn Academy of Music on a multi-titled card alongside IFBB Mr. World and Mr. Olympia, the 1973 IFBB Mr. America saw Lou win the tall class and the overall title. This win formally planted him in the IFBB elites and set up an immediate run at the Federation's World Amateur title. 8 weeks later, the 6'5", 270-pounder had trimmed 25 pounds since the last contest and flew to Switzerland to compete in the IFBB Mr. Universe. Once again, the 21-year-old took both the tall class and overall title, scoring his most important victory over names like Ken Waller and Mike Katz, springboarding into the pro ranks and Olympia chase.
So my greatest memory, they awarded me the Mr. Universe trophy. I was the youngest one to win the IFBB Mr. Universe, and I had tears in my eyes because I said, this is something that, with a dream in mind, I've accomplished it.
This win accomplished more than cementing Lou's name as a credible challenger for the biggest title in bodybuilding. Lou had come a long way. He'd put on 100 pounds from 1969 to 1973, claiming he did it all naturally. In a 1975 Muscle Builder Power interview, George K. said, "Louie, tell me if you take drugs. I will not print it if you say yes." "George, I have never taken a drug in my life," was his answer.
And I realized that I want to compete in the Mr. Olympia competition. So in 1973, when I won the IFBB Mr. America, then I won the Mr. Universe 6 weeks later. I decided in 1974 I want to go into Mr. Olympia. Some people told me that I shouldn't compete because I wasn't mature enough. I didn't care because I wanted to go right on that stage to compete with Arnold. But I was very honored to go from the age of 19, just to win a teenage Eastern America, straight to Mr. Olympia 2 years later at the age of 22. And I wanted to defeat Schwarzenegger because he was my idol at the time, and I felt that he's not going to be around forever, so why not take a crack at Mr. Olympia?
Through the early 70s, Lou had been training while working 7 a.m. shifts at the New York sheet metal factory. He stayed late in the gym and still had to be on the job by 7. By 1974, he'd put aside his sheet metal job to focus on training, which made Arnold's invitation for Lou to travel to California as a guest poser more enticing. Arnold, alongside Franco Colombo, co-promoted this Mr. International contest, one of the marquee West Coast IFBB shows that summer. And what started as a guest posing trip for Lou ended up in participation. Once he felt the scene, he jumped into the contest, taking the tall class over Mike Katz and the overall title. This trip to California was a turning point towards the Weider Muscle Mecca ecosystem. Joe pressed Lou to move west, but his father insisted that he go back to his job at the factory because it was steady money. Lou called this the moment he resolved to push toward the IFBB pro path regardless.
I didn't want to stay home in New York because I was very unhappy. And I wanted to spend the rest of my life working in the factory. I wanted to do something else, better.
No way he was going to become anything. He'll never grow up. He'll never become an individual. Or he'll never be his own person. As long as he lived with his father, because his father was very domineering. I took an interest in him. I tried to understand him, what his problems were and so forth, and I supported him.
Well, I came here in 1974 to compete for the Men's International competition. I got a chance to spend time with Joe. Joe took me to the beach, invited me to train with all the great bodybuilders. But that convinced me because he actually saved my life, because he brought me to California, because he knew that in New York, I was kind of very limited when it came to training, because for me to reach my peak, I need to move to California. So Joe took me under his wing, became like a second father, because he realized what I've been through. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
After stamping his authority on the California IFBB stage, Lou carried the momentum over to Europe, where he entered the 1974 IFBB Mr. Universe held in Italy. Secretary of the IFBB Judges Committee, Oscar State, wrote, "Naturally, I looked first over last year's winner, Lou Ferrigno, USA. Better than last year was my immediate reaction. His huge frame was packed with solid muscle, every part shapely, defined, and blending into a wonderful harmony of form. It was impossible to spot any deficiency." In the end, Lou dominated the contest, outpointing Ken Waller, Paul Grant, and Roger Walker, sweeping his second consecutive Mr. Universe title and putting himself in direct contention with the current king of bodybuilding. The 10th edition of Mr. Olympia was held on October 12, 1974 at the Felt Forum, Madison Square Garden, in front of a near-capacity crowd, and was the first to split the field into under 200 pounds and over 200 pounds classes. In a way, this was bodybuilding's coming out party, before the pumping iron film era, with Sports Illustrated running a feature and bringing the media attention to the sport. Already the 4-time defending champion, Arnold arrived aiming for number 5. The 27-year-old was the man to beat, with 237 superbly constructed pounds, bringing what was arguably his best ever condition. He treated this contest as a potential last hurrah, as Sports Illustrated hinted this Olympia might be his last. One Sports Illustrated writer even described him as the most extraordinary athlete anywhere today, as well as the most perfectly developed male in history. Fresh off his second Mr. Universe win a week ago, Big Louie was hailed as the sport's next big thing in recent issues of Joe Weider's magazines. At 265 pounds, he was expected to give Arnold the challenge previously presented by former champ Sergio Oliva.
So the magazines had been hyping this. Like we said, he had that article with the holding Arnold's head up. Sergio last competed in the Olympia in 72. So Arnold really, except for Franco, he really didn't have a threat. Yeah. So I think they were hyping up Lou because Lou was taller, he was bigger, he was like another kind of Arnold version. And they were hyping this up as this was going to be the big showdown between Arnold and Lou.
Lou had peaked perfectly for the Mr. Universe, but he over-dieted for the Olympia, holding his peak for too long, which lost him much of his fullness. He later stated, "I walked into Madison Square Garden with my mind fixed on coming out with the Olympia. When I first saw Arnold, he looked a little heavy, and that made me feel good. But Arnold is very deceptive. Relaxed, his body goes down unbelievably. And when we were downstairs pumping up, I realized how mistaken I'd been. It seemed he would never stop getting bigger and bigger. Plus, he had that extra edge of coming in right on time. I had been in perfect shape for the universe, but one additional week on the same rigid diet had left me too gaunt and too tired for the rigorous strain of that competition."
Lou kind of looked over-dieted, and Arnold really killed him on size. You know, for being a shorter guy, Arnold just looked way more massive than Lou did.
He had to continue to diet, and he might have slimmed down a little bit too much for that. Whereas Arnold, he was in the peak, best shape ever. It would have been very difficult for anyone to beat Arnold that night.
At the end of the night, Franco Columbo's density trumped Frank Zane's aesthetics for the under 200 crown. And Arnold's stagecraft, charisma, and flawless physique managed to earn him his 5th consecutive Mr. Olympia. This contest elevated Lou from phenom to legit title threat in the sport's biggest arena, setting a clean runway into the 1975 season, the most crucial year in the history of bodybuilding. While they were working on a 1972 Sports Illustrated story on the Mr. East Coast contest in Holyoke, Massachusetts, writer Charles Gaines and photographer George Butler had the idea to write a book on bodybuilding. In it, they positioned bodybuilding as a misunderstood American subculture, calling it the first book to seriously report it from the interior. With Joe Weider's permission to use the material for their book, Pumping Iron, the Art and Sport of Bodybuilding came to life, with master poser Ed Corney on the front cover. Around the same time, Charles Gaines co-wrote the bodybuilding-themed film Stay Hungry, based on his novel of the same name, which won Arnold a Golden Globe Award. Eager to replicate the experience, the pair asked approximately 3,000 people to help finance their new bodybuilding documentary, Pumping Iron. Butler eventually raised $400,000, but not before going $30,000 in debt. With funds secured, they chose the 1975 Mr. Olympia, held in South Africa, as the center of the events. In just 3 years, Lou went from 4th place in a teen show to sharing the stage with the sport's biggest star. If his trajectory was pointing up in 1974, it went into overdrive this year when he traveled to compete in the Mr. Olympia.
I was training for the Miss America competition, and one time George Butler came in and was taking pictures. He said they're writing a book called Pumping Iron. I didn't think too much about it. The book came out, became a bestseller. And then we got a phone call one day, and they're making the movie called Pumping Iron. So at the time, I was training for the ABC Superstar competition. I basically practically retired from bodybuilding because I competed against Arnold 74. I figured what's the point to keep training because there's no money in the sport. So Butler convinced me for the movie industry. It's a great docudrama. It's going to change a lot of people's mind about fitting to bodybuilding. So it's okay, I wasn't in my best shape. So I trained for the film and they followed me like 24/7, filming and everything. They only had like 8-9 weeks to prepare. So basically it was a stepping stone for me.
Arnold had planned to retire. The Butler and Gaines approached him because they wanted to make the Pumping Iron movie. They talked him into competing when he really wasn't. He was already kind of segueing into the movies, and he really didn't want to compete.
But I also heard that they paid him $50,000 to do it.
Yeah, I heard it could be as much as $100,000.
Especially when you consider none of the other guys in the movie got paid anything.
Frank Zane knew there was something wrong right from the start.
That's why he really didn't want to be in the movie.
He didn't want to have anything to do with it. But when he saw the way the film was spotted out, he realized that the whole focus was going to be on Arnold. And this is before it came out that Arnold was the only one being paid good bucks. Arnold was given the story that, the filmmakers, they don't have much money and it's good for the sport and it's going to help you guys because if this thing catches on, you guys are all going to be famous and make a lot of money. And I remember when Robbie found out about it, he was furious. Because Arnold was supposed to be their friend. Arnold has a cutthroat side to him. He only cares about Arnold.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I was not basically that hungry at the time to go to compete again because I was home. I was going through a lot of difficulties. But I have the chance to compete against Arnold again. That they have the advantage because they train in California. They get paid to train. They have the best gym. I'm training. There's no sun, it's cold. The contest in November. It was just a weird time because everyone in California that trained for the film, the camaraderie, I was all alone in Brooklyn, all by myself.
We filmed Louis in a dark sort of underground gym in Brooklyn, and then we'd immediately cut to Arnold Schwarzenegger. There were skylights overhead. Venice Beach was right outside the gym, palm trees swinging to and fro.
Lou resented the way he was depicted in the film, stating that his relationship with his father was quite the opposite of how it was portrayed in Pumping Iron. Due to difficulties in his home life and with his relationship with his father, he admitted that he was psyched long before walking on stage. In his 1994 book, Lou wrote, "I wouldn't have competed at all, but for the fact that, for the time being, I still had to live at home, and Dad viewed both the contest and particularly the film as tremendous publicity vehicles for himself. He actually saw Pumping Iron as his opportunity to be a movie star and looked upon me as his vehicle to accomplishing this. We were shown training together in the film, whereas in real life, we never trained together at all. He was depicted in the film as being compassionate and caring about my career, whereas in real life, he never gave it a second thought. The producers thought it would add a nice warm family angle to the picture if my dad was involved in almost every facet of contest preparation, and he was only too happy to oblige. After we finished the last workout together before the cameras in Pumping Iron, I asked my dad if he wanted to go to the gym with me for a workout. His eyes widened in disbelief. "What, are you nuts?" he replied. "I never want to go to the gym with you again."
He always in the film because he had a chance to be in the film with me. We never really trained together. And it's hard to stay motivated. So the only way I can motivate myself is just keep screaming Arnold's name in the gym and just keep pumping that heavy iron.
Wait till they see these dogs in Africa.
Terrific. Really wanted to beat Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I'm not satisfied. Half a more way, let's go. I want to beat him.
My father never really involved in bodybuilding, and they asked him to be in the film. They thought it would be good to have father and son.
In the movie, Natty Ferrigno is a stage father to the best of intentions, and Natty had a very clear idea of what Louis should be doing.
When you step out there, boy, remember all those grueling nights and mornings in the gym. This is it. This is the reward, and we want it. We want it so bad that we could taste it.
The fact because at the time I had a speech problem and everything, I was not able to conduct myself in interviews. He tried to be my voice.
There's only one thing in mind, and that's to beat that German. We gotta beat Arnold. He's been up there too long. You waited 9 years for this shot, right?
And most of the time I really wanted to say, let me speak for myself. Let me be who I am, please. You know, this is not how I want to conduct myself. This is not how I want to be in the film.
Be careful. He's going to try every trick. If he sees you look a little better, he's going to try and do something.
I want to be the best, and I'm perfectly willing to go through anything to be the best.
It's 1969, nobody has beaten me, so why should he come around now all of a sudden and break my record?
He's massive and he's built almost like you.
No.
What happens if you are defeated?
He's gonna try to make you look bad out there. Watch every move he makes. Try not to engage in conversation with him.
I was not really me. I was beaten down.
What do you think your chances are today?
I'm gonna lose, Arnold. You're the best.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just wanted to insurance.
You're gonna be king a long time, Arnold. You're gonna be king a long time.
With only 8 weeks to pivot from training for ABC superstars to an Olympia peak, Lou was massive, but lacked the polish of other competitors like the reigning champ and the Black Panther who embodied aesthetic mass.
I came out in the prejudging. I realized that I was not going to come second. There's a chance I'm going to come third.
Third place, Lou Ferrigno.
When I'm looking at the audience, I can see my father's face. I was just, oh my God. It's like, because he was more disappointed than I was.
I tell you something, what that boy of yours has done in a year, it's fantastic.
We tried, but
You keep going. Very wonderful job. Wonderful job. Wonderful job.
Well, you know, the sad thing is, when I was the champion, I was the winner, I thought he loved me. He couldn't accept me losing. He only showed interest if there was ways of making money, for me getting attention, but he couldn't see his son losing. So it's funny, right after the competition, after I lost, I disappeared for 2 days. I was in the jungle with some woman. Being in South Africa, what I really wanted more than anything was not really being Mr. Olympia, was being out in the open, having a good time like Arnold. That's what I wanted more than anything. That was more impressive to me. Who wants to be in South Africa, come second, come third, to be 10th? You was down there having fun, schmoozing with people, shaking hands. That was my envision. When I saw that, that's what the direction I wanted to go. For me to change that, I had to work on myself.
And I would like to announce officially that I'm retiring from bodybuilding competition.
The 1975 Mr. Olympia was Arnold's swan song, or at least that's what everyone thought, which created a huge vacuum at the top and a media narrative about who the next standard bearer should be. Lou had been framed by magazines as the towering heir apparent, but his choice to leave the IFBB stage inverted that script. For Lou, the pumping iron year was colored by a harsh perform or be dismissed dynamic at home, and by 1976, he was testing routes that didn't funnel through contest stages under that pressure. The first of which was a pivot to mainstream athletic TV, where he won his preliminary heat at ABC Superstars, setting a then record in the rowing event before finishing 4th overall. Riding that visibility, he tried out as a defensive lineman for the Toronto Argonauts, where he lasted only a month. I had a great time, but I felt like it wasn't for me because I didn't like hitting people, he later said. Next up, he tried his hand at strongman, entering the inaugural World's Strongest Man at Universal Studios in 1977, finishing 4th of 8 behind Bruce Wilhelm, Bob Young, Ken Patera, and ahead of Franco Columbu, who was badly injured during the contest. Franco had won last year's Mr. Olympia, the first to be held without Arnold, marking it the first time an under 200-pound bodybuilder won the biggest prize in the sport. With no one to match him for size, and with the exit of the man who launched a monopoly on the title since the departure of Sergio Oliva, Lou started training for the 1977 Mr. Olympia in hopes of finally fulfilling his childhood dream. But he would soon receive an offer that would change the trajectory of his life. The Pumping Iron documentary finally arrived in 1977 to strong notices and critical acclaim. It was widely credited with pushing bodybuilding into mainstream culture and with elevating its stars beyond the subculture.
When I saw it for the first time, it made me very angry because I suddenly saw how it was portrayed. I was afraid people wouldn't like me. I was afraid people were going to look down on me. He's deaf, he can't speak, looks dumb in the film. What I'm trying to say to you is at the time, I felt like a freak. Nothing to say, I just want to eat my cake. But it wasn't like that. I didn't realize that within time, everyone embraced me.
Hollywood noticed, and they came knocking.
They were shooting the pilot of the Hulk, and they had another actor by the name of Richard Kiel who played George and James Bond. They realized they had a problem because one day a director came on the set with his son, and the boy said to his father, "Daddy, this is not the Hulk. He doesn't have the physique like in the comic." And they realized that this Hulk wasn't believable. I was training for the 1977 Miss Olympia competition. I was slated to win. I was in the best shape of my life. So about 6 weeks before the competition, I received a phone call from a casting agent named Mark Mallett, and he said, "We're casting for the Incredible Hulk. Would you like to come down for the screen test?" And I said to myself, I'm playing the Hulk. Nobody's gonna play the part but me. I got so excited. I didn't even sleep the night before. And I was all painted green. They wanted me to act like the Hulk. But at the same time, I was doing the motion. I was looking at Bill Bixby saying, "This is Bill Bixby." I remember I won the part. Then the big challenge when I went to the Bodybuilder. And I told Joe about the situation, about the Olympia 6 weeks to wait. I said, "No, I'm on a contract with you. I have this Incredible Hulk to film the pilot." I was completely shocked. Joe said to me, "Compete next year. Grab the part." I remember getting a phone call from Ken Johnson. Ken said, "Lou, the show got picked up at the series.
Please deposit 25 cents.
I don't have 25 cents.
Then I can't complete the call, sir.
You know, it was one of the happiest days of my life. Well, I couldn't go any place without being recognized. I mean, no matter where I went, I was driving on the freeway 60 miles an hour, people would know who I am. I mean, the car drives by, they say, "That's Lou Ferrigno, the Hulk."
You only saw the Hulk for a couple of minutes in the beginning and a couple of minutes at the end for the climax. Lou was so impressive in that role that you never forgot it.
The hardest thing for me was not really playing the Hulk. The hardest thing for me was able to maintain the condition.
Wow, it is real.
And because sometimes I'm finished 9 o'clock at night shooting. Just an hour to take the makeup off. I just went straight to the gym. Trained for an hour, went home, collapsed, fell asleep, back on the set at 5 o'clock the next morning. That was brutal. Bill and I felt secure with the show going for another season. And then I heard on the radio that the show was canceled. So eventually I called Bill myself, and he was surprised, but everyone kind of shocked. I think the show was canceled because someone at CBS felt that the show had inflated budget. I think it was one of the most expensive shows on television.
The Hulk made Lou the most recognizable bodybuilder on television, creating immediate spillover opportunities in and out of Hollywood, shifting his focus from bodybuilding competitions to acting.
After the show was canceled, I was approached by Canon Film to film Hercules, and I was excited because, like to follow Steve Reeves, I never thought I'd be playing Hercules myself.
And followed it by other sword and sandal roles that leveraged his physique, keeping him busy and camera ready. After the weekly run ended, NBC Universal brought Lou and Bill Bixby back for 3 Incredible Hulk movies, which kept Lou tied to the franchise through the late 1980s, early 90s, while also taking up personal training, working with celebrities like Michael Jackson, Mickey Rourke, and Chuck Norris. At 41 and 17 years removed from his last bodybuilding contest, Lou decided that 1992 would be his comeback year. As Joe Weider worked to bring Lou back for 1992, Vince McMahon's newly founded WBF tried to sign a marquee star. Lou was courted and even hyped for the WBF stage, but ultimately chose to go after the title that eluded him all his life.
WBF was going after him in 1991-92. He chose the Helsinki Olympia and had a 3-year deal, which was rumored to be $250,000 a year at the time,
setting up the Helsinki return under the Weider banner.
I woke up one morning, I said, I want to compete one more time because I never reached my full potential. But at the same time, I'm looking at the magazine, I'm looking at you in the magazine, I'm looking at Dorian Yates, I'm saying to myself, man, these guys got striations in their butt, striations in the lower back. I mean, they look phenomenal. For me to beat these guys, I got to come in like at least 300 pounds or more.
Lou walked on around 300 pounds after an era away from the stage. He later admitted he mistimed his peak and that he relaxed between poses at prejudging, while contemporaries stayed flexed, which made him look flatter than he actually was. With an absolutely stacked lineup, and although he looked great, Lou didn't stand a chance. coming in 12th place ahead of veteran former Mr. Olympia Samir Banu and a debuting Ronnie Coleman.
Lou Ferrigno is in a very comfortable position right now. He has a wonderful family. He has an incredible wife. He has lovely children. He makes money. He lives in a wonderful house. It's all comfortable. And therefore, that makes it the biggest obstacle to compete in a Mr. Olympia or in any sports competition as far as it goes. You got to be hungry, ought to be no safety net there. And that is when you become the most fierce.
I know Joe really wanted to win. People think that Joe Weider had some kind of influence on the Mr. Olympia contest. In the period of the 90s and so on, Joe Weider had absolutely zero influence on the contest. There are other people running it, other people judging it. Well, he would have liked Lou, because Lou would be, hugely marketable. Yeah. And so Joe was kind of pushing Lou to win. There was some interviews in the magazine. What do they think about Lou Ferrigno coming back and everything? Well, I said, for me, it's not an issue. He's probably going to realize that this is not a movie, it's not TV, it's real.
Making a return to the stage the following year, Lou's structure and size still impressed the crowds, but the judging emphasis had shifted, especially on back detail and lower body grain, which kept him out of the top tier, but he still managed to place higher than last year in 10th. Lou cast his 1990s return as unfinished business and a proof of concept for athletes over 40. I was as strong at 41 as at 21. The muscle was thicker and denser, he said. He also claimed that he came back to do it for himself, not to chase external approval. And after his showings at 92 and 93, the 1994 Olympia Masters was the capstone of that mission. IFBB introduced Masters in 1994 as a companion to Mr. Olympia to give veteran stars a credible headline stage where they could compete at the highest levels in their later years, rather than fade into guest posing. Well, Vince Taylor has claimed that contest was conceived with Lou in mind.
Concept of the Masters came along with Joe Weider was wanting to do something for, my take was Lou Ferrigno. So he made this competition for Lou Ferrigno, in my opinion.
It was as if that show was an opportunity for Lou Ferrigno to just come and get,
Get his
Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
Robbie Robinson spoiled that because Robbie won the show.
Who would have thought that Robbie Robinson would have came out of the blue? Because technically, I think Robbie Robinson at the time was off the radar.
Mid-90s judging rewarded condition and detail as much as mass. Robbie Robinson arrived with trademark polish and density. Lou brought towering scale and width, but not at the same crispness front to back. Lou's own post-show comments concede his tanning miss.
What the fuck? The only thing that the odds were against me when I came back to competition, bodybuilders changed because you have to compulsory pose it. I should have guest posed a couple of times and then entered the competition. So I went from 17 years on stage to a new stage in the 90s, never showed my body a posing exhibition, so quite like a shot.
The 94 Masters was documented in the film Stand Tall, which closed the narrative loop that began with pumping iron. Lou proved the over 40 comeback was real. But the title went to a peer whose classic conditioning embodied the judging tide of the 90s, bringing Lou's bodybuilding career to a close.
I want to say tonight officially, I have retired from bodybuilding because it's time for me to move on.
After closing the competitive chapter for good, Lou leaned fully into a broad second act, steady film and TV work, often winking at the Hulk legacy.
Stop calling me Hulk. I'm a person, okay?
Including cameos.
Good morning, Dr. Prince. Security ought to be beefed up a lot more.
You are the man.
God bless you, brother.
Voice work in modern Hulk and Avenger films, as well as attending expos, speaking circuits, and Comic-Cons. He also carved out a civic lane as a reserve law enforcement officer and became a visible advocate for people with hearing loss, turning the childhood circumstance that once isolated him into a platform, changing the lives of thousands in the process.
Thank you very much for making who I am today, and I promise I will continue bodybuilding for the rest of my life, and it brings a little sadness to me, but goodbye and thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. I love you all.
I had dreamed, hoping
that this would take me someplace because I had nothing else to survive. And bodybuilding was my survival.
I had to be a fighter. I had to fight harder than the average person to succeed. I mean, nobody's going to pat me on the back, but it was only me.
I've lost so much in my life when I was young growing up. To fulfill that part of me made me extremely competitive. That's what I love about bodybuilding. It's a solo sport. They saying titles don't mean anything. It's what you are inside what makes a champion. Is that you say, I did it, I'm better and better, and nothing can stop you.
And by the way, I have nothing more to say. I just want to eat my cake.